These are 5 tips you need to know when sniping as a new player in Battlefield 1. The sweet spot mechanic is essentially when shooting an enemy within a certain range, that sniper can do 100% damage and one-shot an enemy anywhere on the body above the legs. The sweet spot range is different to each sniper, and some don't have one at all. To see the sweet spot range for a sniper you want to use, head over to the main menu and go to the soldier tab, and then from there you'll be able to see on each weapon on the bottom right a graph, and it shows you if it has a sweet spot or not and what that range is in meters, and then you can kind of go from there, pick and choose which sniper you want to use based off your playstyle. This is just an example of the GUA 98 sweet spot. As you can see, it does 80 damage up to around 60 meters, where it starts to increase to 100 damage at around 80, and then it says at 100 damage then that's the range where it's a one shot to the body, and then at around 130 meters it begins to drop off again. At around 165ish meters it goes back down to that flat 80 then, where if you hit him in the body it does 80 damage. Obviously a headshot, no matter the range, is always a insta kill, but that flat bit there where it rises up and it flattens off at 100 damage and then drops back off, that area there is where if you hit him in the body that's 100% damage and it's an insta kill. You're probably wondering, how do I get the range to the enemy? How do I sort of figure out the range? There are a few ways to do it. One being using the gadget, the periscope, that gives you the range. As you can see on screen now, I'm looking down the street and that number keeps like increasing and decreasing. That's the distance in meters to that sort of point where the periscope's looking at, so you can use that as one way to get a distance. Another sort of way to get a rough estimate is by looking at or like aiming by near flags. Gives you the distance to that flagpole, so you can use that to kind of make a good sort of judgment guess and go from there. But I know it's a bit cliche, but honestly the more you snipe, the more you kind of just get a feel for it. I've been a sniper since Bad Company 2, and as you can see in these clips, I didn't use any distance, get any distance at all. I didn't figure out the distance or anything like that. I just took the shot and then kind of went from there. As like the more you do it, the more you kind of just build up that, I guess, like muscle memory to know kind of roughly how high to aim and where to aim. The sniper glint appears on all variants apart from the iron sight. The glint appears when an enemy is aiming towards you, so if you see this, you best get the cover and start ducking and weaving. There's also a rainbow glare. This happens when you're within the sweet spot range for the sniper the enemy is using. One thing to note, both the sniper decoy and Trent's periscope both produce a glint. In Battlefield 1, there's bullet drop. This happens with every weapon. However, with most snipers, it's a lot more obvious due to them having a greater engagement distance compared to other weapons. Ignore the drawing, I'm not an artist, but I thought it'd be easier to explain it like this. So, the distance between these two enemies, or players, is 200 meters. Player 1 is sniping and he wants to take out player 2. The red line represents the trajectory the bullet has to take to hit player 2. So what player 1's had to do here is, since the distance is 200 meters, when it's sort of like, 50 meters, 10 meters, stuff like that, you don't need to worry about this. Just point the crosshair at the enemy and, do the business. But when it's sort of big distances like this, 100 meters, 150, 200 plus, that kind of thing, you do need to take this into account. So to get the bullet to arc like this, he's had to aim the sniper scope slightly above player 2. Now it doesn't have to be a lot, and it's kind of hard to explain how much by. Like, the more you snipe, the more you kind of get a feel for it and used to it. And it's not that hard really once you start getting an understanding for it. You may see me mess up in some of these clips really, where I've aimed too high, but you slightly adjust it and you can normally hit the shot, and it sort of becomes second nature the more you do it. But to get this bullet to arc, like I was saying, he's aimed the sniper scope slightly above the enemy to give it that sort of more of a arc to it, so it can cover that greater distance and hit the enemy. Because if you just aimed his crosshair straight at the enemy and took the shot at 200 meters, the bullet would fall short and it wouldn't hit the target. But by aiming slightly above, it gave the bullet a greater height to it and a better trajectory to sort of arch over and hit the enemy. To help counter the bullet drop somewhat, you can zero your sights of the sniper. So instead of the sniper being ranged, say, for 50 meters, you can change it to 100 meters. So the center of the crosshair is now ranged for 100 meters. So say the enemy is that distance away, just aim down the sight, take the shot, and that's it. Also account for bullet drag. So the further the bullet has to travel, the longer it will take, as the air will begin to slow it down. So if you're taking a shot that's like 300 meters away, you also got to sort of lead the shot as well a bit more to make sure you hit the target. Now, how do you know what sniper to use? Really, it comes down to how you play the game. If you're on the front lines and enjoy pushing, you may want to go with something that's got a faster rate of fire and bullet travel speed. Whereas if you prefer to sit back and overwatch the battlefield, you may want a weapon with a higher bullet velocity and sweet spot area to help with this play style. It also depends on the map you're playing. If it's close range, you may want to pick like an infantry or marksman version. But if it's a more open map, say, with long lines of sight, open areas, you may want a sniper variant, which will sort of cater to being able to take those longer shots. Just one more thing to note, the bayonet attachment can negatively affect the time it takes to ADS your weapon. So from 625 milliseconds to 250. Now, it's not too much of a problem if you're, playing the Overwatch style. However, if you're in, close quarters where you need every advantage you can get, such you're up against like shotguns, snipers, assault rifles, and whatever else, it may be best to remove it. However, it can also be useful if you get caught out. You can do the bayonet charge to take the enemy down. So you do need to think about, what, like, would it work, would it not? Maybe have a play around and see what works best for you. Me personally, I prefer taking it off and then just switch it to my pistol. Maybe get a shot off with the sniper, even if I don't kill him, do like 80 odd damage, switch to the pistol, 1-2 shots, and then move on. So have a play around with it, see what works for you, because I know some people like using the bayonet and others not. If you enjoyed the video, please leave a like. If you think I've left anything out or want me to cover something in the future video, please leave a comment down below. If you want to see more content like this, as well as tips and tricks, guides, weapon breakdowns and more for Battlefield 1 and present and past Battlefield games, please subscribe. And yeah, until the next one, have a good one.